ArTechník Podcast, number 7 for May 7, 2012. You can't sing that. We don't have the rights to that song. We've started, by the way.
Oh,
we have?
he always does that.
Always surprises
Surprise.
us. I thought you were going
It's
to
for
remove
us.
Tino.
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah.
have a cat in the room.
Cat
we have
in the
a cat
room.
situation. That,
So if you hear any purring,
I wonder
it's
if I can
not
pick him up.
me.
On the mic. Say hello, Tino. I don't know if anyone heard that.
There's a wasted 30 seconds.
Yep. You're welcome, fellow listeners.
One of our signature soft
Hey,
jokes.
you made it back to the show. We're so glad you did. Guess what? So did we. You're not Tino. You're
No,
a person.
That's my cat noise, though. It's pretty good.
That's
Yeah,
your cat
not
noise?
bad.
Thank you. Well,
All right. Send in your demo reel. That's not how you get in Cat in a Hot Tin Roof.
oh,
We're
I
digressing.
misunderstood that.
Early. Welcome to the Awesome O'Clock edition
Yes.
of ArTechník Podcast, which I think should be pronunciation agnostic based on how we've written it. It should be ArTechník, or
If you're
Art-
willing to listen, you can
Art-
call our show whatever
Whatever
you
you
want.
you want. Speaking
This
of
is the
listening.
Supermoon episode, right?
Supermoon.
Supermoon.
You want to explain that?
Yes. Supermoon. Apparently, the moon is pretty close to the Earth tonight. It's 30% brighter, I think was one of the percentages I read.
I
an
did
albedo
notice-
of 11%.
And it is 221,000 miles from the Earth right now, which is very close, apparently. And it was really bright out there tonight.
Like a flashlight.
Flashlight
Lunar
bright.
Justice.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I came out of the show and I noticed that it was a really bright moon.
What
and
show did you come out of, Aaron?
I just finished Anti-Mame with the Process Theater over at Onstage Atlanta.
Yeah. Saw it last night. It was great.
It was.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
it
We had
was.
so much fun doing it. It was an interesting production because the four main women were all played by male actors.
Mm-hmm.
We got the rights from the publishing house. They were like, you can have whoever you want play them, but all of the characters in the show have to be the gender they are written to be as a character. So we had women playing men playing women, men playing men, women playing women. Good old time.
And you just struck, right?
Just struck.
And you're back home, and it's 2:27 in the a.m.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Awesome o'clock.
Awesome o'clock. Speaking of awesome, we've picked up another country,
Oh, yeah?
Ooh.
Armenia.
Oh.
Welcome, Armenia.
Armenia.
Thanks for joining
Yeah.
the party.
By the way, I feel like we have neglected mentioning all the lovely people in Georgia. By far our largest slice of listenership, of course.
Mhm.
Okay.
The state, not the country. If in case you're joining us from Armenia and you're confused, that hurts, cat. You cannot claw me. Ow. I'm not your toy. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow.
You started
Why do I
that fight,
keep-
Jeff. He's going to keep pushing.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Anyway, so thanks, Armenia. Thanks,
But
Georgia.
we don't have the country Georgia
I hear, not yet. I hear our good friend Helen was listening on the road
Mm-hmm.
to several. She was catching up on a few.
Nice.
So
And posted a nice little review on Facebook.
Yay.
Said some very nice things.
She did. She did.
And my brother is now listening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I harassed him this week, and turns out he wasn't listening. And so he and Kayla downloaded all previous podcasts and are listening to them this week.
And this cat is listening because this cat is in the room.
Going to tell my sister, so we should get Scotland in a few days.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. It's nice when we can pinpoint it to a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the viral infection starts.
Yeah.
Patient zero.
I guess wrapping up life stuff, Tom Petty was awesome.
Oh,
It
my
was Regina
gosh.
Spektor.
It was
awesome.
fantastic.
Great concert.
Absolute blast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And from our podcast standpoint, the curtains, just the photos of the curtain stuff they were doing, where it looked like the curtains changed colors completely based on what lights they were shining at
Yeah.
them.
Good old wavelength trick, right?
Yeah.
It was quite impressive.
Lush red curtains and then hundreds of smart lights.
Turning
gosh,
them, and,
yeah.
and they looked true blue. It didn't even look like blue light shining on a red curtain. It
Yeah.
looked like
Yeah.
the curtains turned a gorgeous little
We were
gem
saying
tone of blue.
Hampton Bishop would die when he saw how many lights,
God,
how many
yeah.
smart lights there were. It was so
Yeah.
cool, so cool. Who's got stuff?
I've got stuff.
Oh, we should
we
mention the
talk
super awesome challenge for this week.
Yeah. Okay. You
Aaron's
talk
idea.
about it. It was your idea, Aaron. Yeah.
Okay. I forget the exact moment of
drunk.
inspiration, but we were drunk, and we decided. Somebody said something about artists and robots creating art, and so we were like, robot art. We've never picked a topic for the show and then all gone out. And we usually just go and look and find things that interest us about the intersection of art and technology.
Yep.
And this week we challenged ourselves. We picked a theme first rather than discovering the theme after the episode. Mm-hmm. And so we've all gone and looked for something under the theme of robot art. Mm-hmm. And
we'll tell our tale beneath the supermoon.
Yes. So I found ArtBot.
Sorry, I'm watching you pull the articles up on your phone, and I'm sad because I know your netbook is still dead.
Oh my god! And I will tell you, this week I have run into the wall so many more times of just, I wish I had my little netbook. Trying to do anything at the office, trying to use the sort of computers that are over there set up, but are very specifically set up to do what they need them to do. Mm-hmm. I couldn't print out this one file because I couldn't get the right PDF, and I was trying to get the print driver, and nothing was set up correctly. And then I went to go right at the coffee house, and I couldn't go right at the coffee house because I had no
intersection of frustration and technology.
I miss it so much, and it's been gone a week.
What's your article?
ArtBot, which is a robot talent show that is put on once a year, international, and it moves country to country, year to year. And they've had, last year, they had a automaton instrument orchestra. Mm-hmm. And so all of these different musical instruments were automated, and the robot orchestra was trained to perform songs and played
by themselves.
By themselves.
Through magic.
Autonomously.
Through magic,
words
right?
do not apply
Yes.
anymore.
By magic.
The
And
basis
so
of all
it's
good technology.
artbots.org, the robot talent show, but the event is in person, but that's their website. And it's just a great call to arms. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying, battle bots, it's like, what can we do to create?
Dance bots.
It's interesting you use the word automata, because there was one site that I went to, and there was a guy that sort of cataloged sort of the development of automata, and how they were saying as far back as in Greek culture, there were sort of mechanical robots. And he kind of came up with the definition that he separates automata as sort of mechanical sort of machines, not through any electronic means.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was the distinction he made, I think largely.
Tin Man, not Borg.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, speaking of magic, yeah. And so, I think he largely came up with the definition so he could trace the development back to the Greeks and kind of through time. And there was a lot of interesting little instances that he brought up. And there was one, I guess I'm hijacking it for a moment, but there was one, and I didn't save that article. I think I just read it in my research.
Yeah.
But there was this fraud one that toured the world back. It apparently was this machine, supposedly this mechanical machine, and it was this from the waist up. It was a guy that kind of looked Oriental, vaguely, and at least that's what it was billed as, and had like a turban. It was all this sort of Eastern mysticism wrapped up into this torso, and then it would travel around on this cart that had a chessboard, and the idea was that it could not be beaten, and humans would play a game of chess against it, and
Like
normally
Big
would
Blue?
get beaten. Yes, and Ben Franklin played against it, and there were a couple of other famous people.
Except it was a Chinese guy painted silver.
No. The trick was before the chess game would start, the guy who toured with it would open up the different cabinets and show the machine work inside. The trick was the box was big enough that there was a tiny little man inside that controlled the chess game from the bottom. But he would open the doors to show the mechanics not all at once. So when he opened the ones on the right side, the guy would squeeze into the
scurry
left
over.
compartment, and then he would shut
Are
that
you talking
one.
just a small, regular-sized person, or are we talking like a little person?
I don't remember the article, at least in this little historical thing, didn't say. It just said there was a man. Eventually, the fraud was found out, and that there was actually a person inside that was actually manipulating the whole chess game.
Rupert Murdoch?
But apparently someone very good at chess.
Yes.
To be able to play from inside
Yeah.
the board and still...
Yeah.
So there's still a trick. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
still a
I
trick
mean,
really to it. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool, yeah.
Speaking of whatever Aaron was speaking about.
Sorry.
No, I just forgot. I had a segue. But I don't know that you were done.
well, I sort of wanted to go first because I thought this was a really cool
yeah.
concept,
Yeah.
but that it would also encompass probably everything else we could sort of come up with to talk about. This
Yeah.
idea that creating robots to do creation work rather than...
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, were these robots that were set up to do this, was it the same sort of set thing every time, or was there anything built into them where the performance was different each time? Was there a way for variation?
The website I have doesn't really go into
Yeah.
that much detail about individual of the robots.
Uh-huh.
But they all seem to...
I'll tell you the reason I ask is when when I first got the topic of robot art, the first thing I thought of was Neil Fenter's script analysis class. And there was, on the very first day of script analysis, we just sort of had this informal discussion about, what constitutes a theatrical
Before or after he
performance.
asked, did anyone read the damn script?
No, this was first day.
Oh,
so there was,
He
nobody had
wasn't
read
resentful.
anything.
We hadn't
Yes.
disappointed him yet.
I never disappointed that man. So on the very first day, we had this talk about what is theater. Like, what can what elements do you need? And of course, through the discussion, you strip down and you go, oh, you don't need costumes, you don't need lighting, you don't need this, and this, and trying to boil down to some sort of definition of what constitutes a theatrical performance. And before we had gotten to a final answer, he goes, okay, well, let me tell you. And I can't remember where he saw this performance. He said, but one time I was taken, a friend took me and said, oh, you've got to see this new piece, it'll blow your mind. And so he's like, okay. So we went along with the friend and they sat down, and it was a small space. He said there were maybe 30, 40 people in the room, and there was a, red curtain, a little, assuming this was like the stage. And at some point the curtain draws back and reveals this machine, this mechanical arm that had a ping pong ball on it. And it just went back and forth from one side of the stage to the other. And I don't remember how long he said
They
was.
watched that.
Right. But, at some point, the curtain closed and everybody applauded. And Neil was like, what the hell was that? He does. And, I don't think he said it at the time, but he threw that out there as sort of a monkey wrench, like,
Is this
theater?
Yeah.
And, I don't remember what I thought at the time. I feel like I've got a better handle on what I think theater is now. But now I say no, only because there was no chance for all of those variables in a live performance when you've got a person saying lines in front of a live audience. Even if that audience was not in the room for that ping pong event, there's, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same thing each time.
Yeah.
If I may speak on behalf of the robots,
Yes.
A robot has to start somewhere in entertainment, and ping pong ball shows are sometimes the only way they can break in.
The only way. Thank you, Jeff.
I would be comfortable saying, art installation, interactive art exhibit, kinetic sculpture. But no, I wouldn't call that theater either myself.
Yeah. And when I thought of that, I actually stumbled across a little article that kind of was asking that same sort of question. And they actually started their little article the exact same way of like, well, in my theater history class, we started out with this discussion of, what is theater? Just give me a second, pull it up. There we go. And there was... Okay. And there was this piece that they saw at this show in New York called Under the Radar that showcases a lot of experimental theater. I think this was in 2011. And this piece was called Hello, Hi There by director Annie Dorson. And they had these things called chatbots. And it took a debate that happened in the 1970s, a debate between Noam Chomsky and Michel Foucault, the philosopher, and basically took sound bites from that debate and randomized them so that it's a conversation between these two chatbots, but depending upon what night you're there, I think they said there's something like 80 million ways the script can play out. But again, still, and the author that saw this said it was interesting, like it was engaging at times because, again, the audience kind of puts their own...
you try and find a context for the conversation. Even if it's a set of random words, we as human beings...
Johnstone, your brain wants to make a connection to anything. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so so the author says that's what happened when they were watching this piece. But at the same time, I still went, well, there's only 80 million possibilities.
Sure.
Like, you throw in a live actor that can forget lines and screw things up, or
leave me alone.
We've all been there. But and so that one was kind of on the fence, but still made me go, well, there's only a finite number of possibilities.
It's still more like a lottery than a performance.
Than a conversation.
On the other hand, if people aren't doing those kinds of things and pushing those kinds of boundaries, do we advance? You know what I mean? If someone's, if someone's not saying, well, the tech isn't there for us to have a true AI robot improvised scene, but the tech is there to show that maybe one day it could be a possibility.
Yeah.
So we'll let these robots do a random, Russian roulette style chat, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing.
Sure.
Double sound whammy.
Double sound.
All right.
The laughter that means we had an audio
mistake
issue.
Oh, okay. It wasn't a mistake. Sorry, I apologize.
It was an opportunity.
It was an audio opportunity. It is a little tradition. For those of you who don't know, every time we begin laughing in mid-conversation...
We have not lost our minds.
We have just lost our audio, which is a thing that we love to do here at the intersection of art and technology. We're just showing that we don't have a firm grasp on either. We're all about the and. We've got that part.
So I have another selection article here. It's called Why Robots Should Dance. And it's an interview with Drexel University engineering professor Youngmoo Kim. And basically they've been working to create robots that emulate human artistic performance from their robot Hubo, who actually chooses his own dance moves based on listening to the music that's playing rather than giving a pre-programmed choreographed routine, to a humanoid piano-playing robot rather than a set of buttons that just pushes down on the levers. It actually has to sit up and play the piano like a human. And their experiment set is to try and figure out what makes a piece of performed art moving. And is it because we're reading the emotional scale off the performer, or is it something intrinsic to the performance and the piece that is being done? And so they're taking the performer out of their variable and trying to develop these humanoid robot performers. And it's interesting. They say that the performances have gotten adept and skilled and are yet not moving, but that they don't rule that out as a possibility of something that they could reach towards.
Whereas when I see Asimo, the little Honda robot, wave,
Yeah.
I'm very moved. We've come a long way since Asimo, though.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He looks like a guy in a spacesuit.
Yeah.
What's
I know
in
what
there,
you're talking
Asimo?
about now.
What are you
Yeah.
thinking, Asimo?
Most of the
yet.
humanoid robots, they avoid the face in general, I think, to sort of
Smart.
stay out of that
It's
uncanny
creepy.
valley. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought I saw one recently where it did have a face, but it looked very much. It was very mask-like.
Uh-huh.
Like it didn't.
Still sort of neutralized.
Yeah. I don't think they had facial movement. They just tried to add a more realistic covering to the more naturalistic body movements of this
I,
thing.
for one, welcome our future robot overlords, and we'll serve them well.
Yeah.
You will. I won't be worth anything but a battery to them. If the Matrix has taught me anything.
What has the Matrix taught you?
That humans can be used as batteries for robot civilizations.
Yeah.
And that we'll pay money to watch just about anything.
That's what I was looking for. That's it.
Sorry.
It's true, but
Yeah.
it makes me sad.
Dancing robots.
Dancing robots.
robots.
Ding, ding, ding.
I have.
ding,
I
ding, ding.
speaking of dancing robots, I have a thing.
Yes.
Roombas. If you don't know what a Roomba is, it's that little disc-shaped robot vacuum cleaner that is really good at running into walls and not knowing where it's going.
But
Although
won't
they've
fall
gotten
down the
better.
stairs.
I think they used to, though, right?
They probably used to, but
Yeah.
as far
But
as
if I
I...
kick them down the stairs. I'm seeing now like this Roomba abuse shelter where there's all these little Roombas in cages shaking. Like,
But I bet you those cages are really clean.
don't make fun of their obsession.
Sorry. Now I see like a counseling group for the Roombas to treat their obsessive compulsive
Cleaning
disorders.
disorders.
Yes.
When you're literally programmed, it is your mission in life. What happens if, like, how self-aware are you as a Roomba? Like, if your vacuum mechanism breaks, do you just feel worthless? and
That's when you
useless?
actually drive off
That's
the
when you
ledge.
intentionally go over the stairwell.
I have failed my master. No, Roomby, no! I named my Roomba Roomby, apparently. Like Gumby.
Yeah.
Roomby, he's here, and he's gonna vacuum. Anyway,
What is happening?
I was taking the Gumby theme and mutilating it.
So we don't have to pay any money. Well done, Jeff.
So he got his Roomba
Totally
in the
unrecognizable.
It's like my impressions. And now I'm not going to do any impressions.
So what about your Roomba
Oh
article?
yeah, right. Back to this. So he got his Roomba in the mail, and normally you get a thing in the mail, you get a new piece of electronics, and they're like, "Do not open; it will void your warranty if you try to mess with the device or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And instead, what he saw on this one was a thing that. I should mention who this is. This is a blogger. This guy Danny Budzinski on dmcinfo.com is his blog. He's blogging about how he started a little home project reprogramming a Roomba. So anyway, he orders Roomba, he gets it, and he finds out that there's a thing inside saying not only can you tamper with your Roomba, we encourage you to develop programs for it, maybe pair up Bluetooth accessories with it, just do stuff to try to make the robot, a little more awesome. And so he's starting that, and I think it's interesting to sort of hack a Roomba. It's a weird thing to want to hack, but now I'm thinking, well, if you can hack a Roomba where you can have some control over it, I think it would be really cool if you could combine moments where you have control with Roombas of a Roomba, where with moments where you sort of take your hands off the wheel and let it do its natural sense mechanism of where it is and how to avoid obstacles to choreograph a multi-Roomba dance. I think something circular, perhaps.
Yeah, it would
But,
be sort of synchronized swimming, ballet kind of
synchronized
stuff.
swimming, but synchronized Roombaing.
Where they all zoom out at once
I
and then
don't know
come
what
back
music
together.
you would use, but yeah, I think that'd be cool to watch the Roombas, like see if they can not only be smart, but see if you can hack it where they're smart and synchronous.
That'd
that
be cool.
would be neat.
Kinect's also really open about letting users...
The Xbox thing?
Yeah, which is surprising because it's
Yeah.
Microsoft. But they
Yeah.
discovered that the Kinect really had a really strong fan base of tinkers. And so they finally sort of opened up the software and opened up the hardware and said,
Have at.
see what you can do with it.
That's so cool. Now I kind of want a Roomba.
And if you could control it by moving your Kinect and
Weird.
you could avatar your Roomba through your Kinect.
I'd be like, Roomba, bring me a beer.
And then you'd have to jump into the equipment and lead it to the kitchen.
Wait. So you're saying yeah. Roombatar.
Roombatar.
You could get the Scuba instead of the Roomba.
Is that
What?
the pool cleaning one?
No, it's tiles and hardwood floors.
Oh, okay.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's like the water-based, it mops
okay.
instead of vacuums.
Isn't this? It's all starting to sound a little like the bathroom buddy from Mr. Peltzer from Gremlins.
Oh,
You remember
yeah,
that?
yeah.
This is the bathroom buddy, and he had this little looks like a block of wood.
Yeah.
And it has a toothbrush and toothpaste in it,
Shaving cream
and shaving
yeah.
cream.
Yeah.
And yet somehow this man gets to buy Mogwai. I digress.
No. I think Gremlins is a good reference when we're talking about robots and technology.
Sure.
They were
Yeah.
little
Were
robo
they
puppets.
Yeah, they were. Ooh, I have a robo puppet thing, but
Mhm.
I don't want to
Oh,
interrupt anybody's.
All right, just all this talk about dancing robots.
It's a robot.
I came across this play
Okay.
called Hedatron. Hedatron.
Go on.
Are we
you
going to do a
can-
reading?
There was one little, okay. Let me explain it first, and then
Okay.
there's one little line after I tell you everything. Okay, so
I am Hedatron.
this is a play that was developed.
Princess Peach, teach me of love.
There's this play called Hedatron, written by Elizabeth Merriweather, and it was developed in 2006 by a New York company called Le Frère Corbusier. I'm probably butchering, it's French. But anyway, they do a lot of experimental progressive pieces, and they're pretty popular and known for doing very clever stuff. And the particular production that I stumbled across was Sideshow Theater in Chicago did a production of this last year. And so here is the synopsis of the play. There is a woman. The play starts out, and there's this woman, Jane Gordon, who is a pregnant, suicidal Michigan housewife.
Mm-hmm.
And she is kidnapped by robots that take her to a rainforest in Ecuador and force her to play the part of Hedda Gabler in Heinrich Ibsen's Hedda Gabler. And so then her husband and his crazy brother are on a mission to save her from the robots that have kidnapped her, while they have these film students following them around to turn it into a documentary. And then there is the daughter of the woman that was kidnapped, and she has a little girl named Nugget who is also doing a report on Heinrich Ibsen. So it cuts back and forth between the daughter giving a classroom presentation oral report on Heinrich Ibsen, and then the father and the brother trying to recapture the mom from the robots that have kidnapped her. And then on top of that, it also flashes to Heinrich Ibsen with his wife and showing his home life. Meanwhile, he's being taunted by August Strindberg in his time. And it's this weird, bizarre play that's and the company playscripts.com or Playscripts Inc. That's you can now get this as a published script. And as I was researching it, there's been a lot of productions of it in the last 2 years. There was actually one that closed down, I think, in San Diego just a month ago even. But it requires that there are these robots to be used in the play. And
Are they available for rent, or do you have to build your own set?
it seems like in each production they build their own. So I don't know if there's a stock group that they leave out there that for rental. I don't know, like the
Audrey 2 puppets, yeah.
yeah. But it was just this really just interesting piece,
Mhm.
and Yeah.
Now, I will admit my own theatrical ignorance. Is there something in the Hedda script about control and loss of control or automated responses to society or something?
Yes,
Is there a theme
that's
to
a
that?
lot of parallels, and in Ibsen's play, that there was sort of this trapped female figure. Well, that's not true. He had a couple of different periods, but in in his realistic period, the sort of advent of realistic plays, most of them had a woman protagonist that was sort of trapped in these societal roles, and so they kind of play with that a little bit when they're presenting the play at the end of when they're presenting Hedda Gabler at the end of Heddatron. But the sideshow theater one was really interesting. They seemed to go all out because they were working in conjunction with Steppenwolf Theater that was sort of parenting them, helping them develop. And then they also, to get the robots, they hooked up with this organization called Chibots, which is Chibots, which is the Chicago area robotics group, and they built some really sophisticated robots for the performances, and they were all operated by actors. I think they said it took about 2 actors to operate each robot, but they had the puppeteers, the operators, visible to the audience, so that they could see them, work them
system.
in real time. Yeah. And it was just, I don't know, it was just a really cool play. And the PlayScripts.inc, the company that has now published it, you can go online and read the first 50 pages of it. And then you have to, so I
get a perusal or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was just very, very clever, very, sarcastic, kind of weird humor, stuff that I really really like. And there was one little piece that I wanted to read, if I can.
I guess you can. Adam's reading will be for educational and informational purposes only, and
Fair
will not
use
be
supplies.
for commerce and blah, 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 blah,
Thank
blah.
you. We've checked with our lawyers. I'm getting a nod. Okay.
Lawyers.
Moving on. Okay.
That's not a lawyer. That's Tina.
Oh, sorry. He gave me a pause up. Okay, thanks.
Tino, our cross-eyed cat lawyer.
And so this is one of the little monologues that Nugget is giving, talking about the play to her class. Okay, here it is. Hedda Gabler is about a woman named Hedda Gabler. She is sad and angry and pregnant. And then she has a gun and she shoots herself. She got married to a man she didn't love because he bought her a house. This play taught me not to marry a man who buys me a house. So the whole play is just like stuff like that, which I absolutely love, and I would love to see a production of this. So I'm now gonna,
or we could put on a production of this.
I don't know. The robot thing is a pretty big undertaking, I think, to do well.
What if they were puppets?
If you would like to fund our robot production, just hit the donate button.
I think there are stipulations.
Grant Imahara, are you out there? Are you willing to play this game with us?
I think there are stipulations in the script that say it has to be
somehow robotic.
Yeah, and there's
can't look robotic.
On the Sideshow Theater site, they actually have accumulated several of the articles that were interviews that they were giving at the time the play was out, and there's one where they talk to sort of the lead robot designer, and he explains everything they did. I read through the article. I don't understand most of it. You two would probably get a kick out of it, as with some of our listeners. I didn't understand most of what they were talking about, but it seemed very well written.
Did we tell Adam about the T-1000 we're working on in the basement?
There's a basement? I'm excited about that. But it was just a very cool, interesting piece. I would love to see a production of this. But again, talking about the robots, I think it's stipulated in the script that they have to be robots, and
it can't be aluminum foil costumes on 2 actors.
Nor can they be Lindsay Lohan. Waka, waka,
you got to think that's your fourth Lindsay Lohan reference in 24 hours, and I've been hanging out with you.
She's not returning my calls anymore.
But so the robots, they were saying that the San Diego production,
in a delusional little snow globe.
You do. I'm going to shake it real hard right now. There we know.
with styrofoam.
And so they said they actually had to delay the production. We can blame that, Mike Aaron. It is awesome o'clock right now. They actually had to delay the opening of the San Diego production because there were so many problems with the robots. And the sideshow...
Uprising?
Not quite. They actually, the sideshow group, the one in Chicago, they actually said on opening night they didn't think about it with, so many smartphones now have Wi-Fi capability, and they didn't think of that causing interference. And they said on opening night, they said the robots were just amok because they were having that's my word, not theirs. But that sounds like a good robot chaos word, right? Amok.
Yeah.
And
I would
so
not want a robot to run amok. That's the beginning of the singularity, and then we're done.
And so they said that it was actually interfering with communication between the puppeteers and the robots, but they actually designed a kill switch into each of the robots. Yes. And so they kind of hit it in a different way depending upon which robot it was. Ooh. Like they designed it in like special, unique ways. So I assume they used the kill switch in that opening night performance because it sounded like things were a bit of a struggle. But then they worked into the speech. They were like, "Look, you've got to turn off your phones."
I know all the theaters say turn off your phone, but we really mean it.
All iPhones have a kill switch.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a thing that Apple. It's deep in this. I mean, it sounds like wacky conspiracy stuff, but it's not. It's really true. Mm-hmm. There's a piece of code deep in the OS that Apple can basically shut you down. And it makes sense if you look at things like stopping malicious programs and things like that. It's also a little frightening. But I think I thought about that with Tweeted, with all the Wi-Fi stuff. I was like, I was concerned, but Hampton had locked everything. All the main computers we're using for the show were all unwired. Mm-hmm. So with all the audience, connecting to all those wireless networks, like we were fine. So I thought that was a cool thing. And if you don't know what Tweeted was, go listen to episode 3, and you'll find out all about it. I have a thing that might tie into yours, both of yours. The Henson Performance Control System. Aaron seems to know something about it. I'm fascinated because it was developed for Ninja Turtles back in the day. And the reason I'm fascinated with it is because there's an image that has always stuck with me of, as a kid, I saw a making of where they took the Ninja Turtle suits, the ones that could be puppeteered in the face robotically. I think Aaron's going to
puppeteered in the face
than I do. But they took I remember they were slightly disassembled. So they were like, the body was there, but the hands were off or whatever. And I remember seeing like metal rings and wires coming out of the parts of the suit that were missing. And I was like, "There's a robot in that turtle." Huh. I just thought that was awesome, and I want to know more about the performance control system. So I looked up some stuff on Wikipedia about it. But I mean, Aaron, it sounds like I bet you probably just know.
I know a little bit about it. They used it one of the earlier ones was Fraggle Rock.
Right.
That did a lot of it.
Yeah, that's where I first saw it, was making of, behind the scenes on Fraggle Rock, and they were showing how they used it to operate a lot of the Gorg features. Yeah.
And the basically, it was because of the 3 scales. You had the Doozer scale, where if the storyline was only about the Doozers, they were like full-size puppets. And if it was about the Fraggles, then the Doozers had to be mini puppets and the Gorgs had to be giant puppets. And the Gorgs were always giant puppets. Yeah. But then you had to have mini Fraggles if you were doing specifically about the Gorgs. Yeah. And so the Gorgs were all performed by 2 people. There was a body performer, a sort of a mime dance performer inside the suit wearing the head. And there was a voice performer who had the little robot. Basically, it was the same. It looked very much like sort of a bear Muppet. It was the top jaw and the bottom jaw, and there was hinges and actuators. And as the performer moved their hand in this little control unit, the radio frequencies and the wired control would move parts of the face, the mouth, the eyes, in the suit. And then they had little ones that they could control. The Doozers, which were usually, their little bulldozers and things, were part of the puppet as well. And they would go along, and those were totally radio controlled. and they just developed what was his name? I feel so bad. I'm failing.
What?
Foz Fracas? No.
Oh.
That just sounds like
that was one of the designers.
Okay.
That worked for
He did a lot of this computerized and robotic control system.
To be fair, I would not have believed a name such as Foz
Fracas.
There were a lot of interesting named people that worked for Jim Henson. Like, just
and and it's developed over the years more and more different things. One of the big things right now with Brian Henson is doing Sid the Science Kid.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen some stuff.
It's cartoons, animated characters that are controlled live puppetry style, but rather than controlling an actual 3D robotic element, you control a 3D animated character.
Oh, yeah.
It explains a lot about why they move the way they do. It's really cool.
Yeah, like I had a friend who her kids love Sid the Science Kid. She encourages it because it's it's about exploration, and her 4-year-old told me one day that she had a hypothesis about something, and I was like, okay, but she was like, but the animation. I'm like, it's not animation, it's puppetry, and they wear these big. It's not the like green morph suit with the little ping pong ball motion capture thing. It's different. They wear shoes and a belt, gloves and a headpiece, and they puppet the little animated avatar rather than do direct motion capture, which is an interesting fine point difference.
Sure, yeah.
But it explains why the characters all sort of have that toddle, because they have these giant shoes on to make sure that they have to move the same way that the cartoon would have to move.
It keeps that Henson style, though, that's amazing. I can go again unless someone else has.
No, you keep going.
All right.
Yeah.
We can't talk about robots and not talk about Japanese robots. I am fascinated. When I started thinking about robot art, I started thinking about where does art come from, and I started thinking about emotional needs in human beings, and I started thinking about a question that I asked and tweeted: do you think robots will be able to feel emotions? And I thought specifically, could robots ever be taught to love? And that, right now, okay, no. But I was fascinated in, how is that particular idea of humanity and human beings caring for other human beings manifesting itself in the robot world today. And the Japanese caretaker robots come to mind. I have a serious story and kind of a funny story. There's one robot. We should put pictures up of this on the website.
All right.
There's one robot I saw on TechCrunch that is designed to sort of lift elderly people. And the thing is that there's I don't mean
to an end, or just like bench press
to help them up to heaven.
Oh wow, you went there. And
it is your time.
You have been safely ejected from Japan. Thank you.
Robotic elderly catapults roaming Japan,
the
keeping the population
is
down.
Growing out of proportion to it's more than they can handle. I guess it's like what we're dealing with baby boomers. Okay, and so that one of the robots they've developed it's designed. It's got some soft spots in its in its joints, and it's got some really strong points, obviously, on its arms, so that it can lift elderly people up. And they named them. I mean, robots are a whole different thing there, from what I hear. But they named them and stuff like that. And then there's another one in South Korea. The robot they're working on designed to teach English, which to our listeners in Hong Kong interests me because I know the dramatic English program over there, and South Korea is actively working on robots to teach English and displace a bunch of jobs. And I think that's an interesting thing. I don't know how well that will work.
I have a question, I guess, for you guys is because, typically a lot of like the robot sort of, I guess, progression of technology seems to come out of a lot of Asian countries. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be a bigger acceptance of robots in everyday life. Oh. Is that
that's one of them.
And so it's just curious of why that culture is maybe more accepting, and that might just be a perception I have because you know what I mean, because I'm so far removed from being fairly tech savvy. Not that I'm like against it, but you know what I mean. But
it's an interesting thing, and I mean I don't have an answer for it at all, but
yeah.
Because I've not been to Japan.
No.
But I would love to know more about why that is a thing. So if you're in Japan,
tell us.
Tell us.
Tell me. Don't tell these guys. Tell me.
What will you do with that information?
Then I will tell you. Yeah. Then I'll tell you guys and look really smart at the next podcast.
No, you're going to show up with like a mecha and wipe us all out. Big robot.
Okay. Thank you. I was joking.
A Holy Land?
That's what I was thinking. Thank you. That's where my brain went.
And then I think this headline alone is funny. Mm-hmm. Japanese love bot traps intern in order to, quote, hug her repeatedly. That was also from TechCrunch. And they're talking about in Japan. In fact, they say only in Japan would this happen. So there's a thing for you. They built a robot designed to love, and it went horribly wrong at a Toshiba research facility. And the hug bot got really friendly, and it became infatuated with a female intern. One night, it blocked the exit and began to hug her with his enormous hydraulic arms.
Oh my gosh!
I hope
she survived, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure she's fine.
When you say it began to hug her with its giant hydraulic arms, that conjures a very specific image, like a junkyard trash compactor. That's what I'm imagining, and I feel really bad for this lady. So I want to know.
Let me love you. My
bones. Was it the Lenny bot? Sorry.
Don't Google Japanese love robots though. Just don't.
I can't tell. Are we still producing viable content, or have we just?
I'm not sure.
We're spitting out so many ideas and articles so fast. I think we should ruminate on this one just a little bit. The giant huggy death bot. Oh, love bot. I'm sorry.
Love death.
Things that only come once in your life.
That was a less successful Disney movie.
Love Death?
No, the Love Bot.
The giant iron Love Bot?
Herbie the Love Bot.
Oh.
Was Lindsay Lohan option for that?
Not in the original. In the remake, she was.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm surprised, we're not talking about Herbie, the love bug. Talking about emoting mechanical devices. Speaking of.
But
he's Dutch.
What? Shut up. Yes,
that's good, yeah.
But it was...
Or Johnny Five.
Mostly trick photography more than it was automated gimmicks originally, wasn't it?
I mean, for the most part.
But it inspired people to believe they could love a machine.
That's true, but...
So there's hope for you yet, Jeff.
Wally did that too?
I will build my ideal
R2-D2? People like R2-D2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of building, 3D printers. I want one so bad because of how easy it is to prototype things. So if you're a programmer with a little bit of know-how and you're making, say, I don't know, a robot, we'll say, because that's our topic today.
Okay.
Or a piece of art, let's say, because that's our topic in general, that you can basically print almost any three-dimensional shape that you can conceive of. I think it's fascinating. They say print, but basically you're taking this plasticky kind of material, and it's
layer by layer.
Yeah, and it's changing things, and it's sort of becoming like the small press version of manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Like the stuff, like if you're an indie comic publisher, you make small comics. But if you're an indie manufacturer, you can make weird, quirky little, pieces of art or very practical things like odd machine parts that just aren't made anymore.
Yeah, I
Stuff
think
like
that's making parts. I mean, if you were able to take a 3D printer on an extended space flight, for example, that's going to be a more usable device than trying to.
That would work in space. That's a cool.
Oh, because it's dripping the plastic downwards. Yeah. But if you could vacuum form, like have sort of a suction towards the bottom form so that it could outline that thing, you could then take the printing composite rather than having to carry 64 spare bolts of this size and 83 of those things. You could be like, oh.
You know where my brain is now going with this replication machine? Is like use organic matter and like. Yeah, are we going to Star Trek? That's our Star Trek reference.
That's our Star Trek reference for the day.
But like take the proteins and blah 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 and
they're building organs 3D. Right now.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, they are. But I
want to make a hot pocket.
Yeah, like a hot pocket or a hot. Not a kidney. I've got relatives for those.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Earl Grey, hot.
So.
Yeah.
That's true as well.
That's where my brain was going.
Does the pink mush taste funny today?
Soylent mush.
It's made of Miss Piggy. Are you doing the impressions now?
I'm just going to go.
I do the bad impressions.
No, I'm not going to attempt a Miss Piggy impression. I'm just going to go. That's all I'm going to do, which is very much like my cat. Meow. Meow meow meow. I love you, meow meow.
Don't meow meow.
Okay, I'll try it for Aaron. I love you, meow. I'm looking at Aaron now. I love you, meow meow.
Blame it on the supermoon.
I am melted.
Oh. I would recommend that anybody that listens to this podcast do so late at night so that you will be in sync with what we are experiencing right now.
None of us are on any kind of drugs either.
Nope.
We're all just really
Wait till about 1:37 a.m.
and then start the show.
And then start. Yeah. And stop it occasionally to yell at your computer.
Yeah.
And fuss.
I mean, settle in. You're in for a night.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps things up for this
week. I love this theme show idea. Let's do another one.
All right.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow.
I think I might have an idea for one, something we were talking about tonight. But we'll talk after the mics have gone to bed.
Right.
That's right.
Just between us three guys. Yeah. And the cat sleeping over there. Right, Tino?
I wonder if you can hear him.
He looks terrified. Jeff is hovering over the cat right now. Tino says, I want none of this. Wait, he's reconsidering because you're petting him. So let's talk about what we've got coming up.
We fall into a very special level when we're including cat narration in our...
Let's talk about what's coming up for us.
Yeah.
Nothing.
We're all hitting.
Here, I'll start talking. I have weddings coming up. I don't remember
this is good.
How many people are you marrying?
At least 2 sets. Yeah. No, I am. I don't remember if I talked about this last week in the sign-off.
I don't think so.
That you did.
Okay, good. You should. So what happened is I've got some friends, Robin and Jason, that we were. My very first year working for Lexington Children's Theater. Mm-hmm. Robin was an intern. Jason was the master electrician there, I believe. And they met, and they're now getting married in about 2 weeks. And so they wanted something a little different, a little quirky, and so they were like, let's see if Montag will perform the ceremony. And so they called me up, it was last year sometime, October maybe. And I was like, I'm totally game for this. And so I'll be performing that wedding on May 19th. Then about a month and a half ago, one of the student teachers at my school, Miss Tharp, I was walking by and overheard her having a conversation with another teacher about all this wedding stuff. She's going on and on and on. And I kind of stuck my nose in and said, who's getting married? She goes, well, I am, but we've got everything lined up. We've got, the food, we've got the catering, dress, blah, blah, blah. And we've got all this stuff, but we don't have anyone to perform the ceremony. And And I kind of raised my hand and said, hello. And so now I am officiating that wedding this upcoming weekend on May 12th. So if there's anybody out there in Armenia, Canada, Hong Kong that's maybe looking forward to getting married and you don't have somebody to officiate yet, I can fill that need. I can perform.
Adam will marry you.
And if not, get a robot.
Get a robot. I'm practically like a robot.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Cold and heartless. Just what you want at your wedding ceremony.
It's true.
Well, you don't want anyone taking away from the love that will be radiating off the couple.
Yes.
So you want somebody cold and austere and puritanical, like I'm sure I'd come off.
With pinchers instead of hands.
So that's what I'm doing for the next couple of weekends.
Yeah, email us,
cool.
hire Adam to officiate your wedding, and
You pay for the plane ticket, get me wherever in the world that ceremony is, and I will marry you.
And I will take 10%.
I need a new agent.
I say 10, I mean 20. Keep talking.
I'm going to be working on a Why Me script over the next month.
Yeah.
Writing out some stuff for Polar Studios.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Cracking
mentioned
the whip.
Bad Hamlet several times. That's coming up later this summer. But I've got sort of this gap pause, but that's going to be great. I can sit and write. I just have to figure out a new laptop to start working on.
Oh, yeah. And you're producing a show.
Oh, that's right.
For
Yeah,
Polar as
for
well.
Polar as well. That's right. The script is due on the 14th.
Yes,
The script is really already finished.
done.
It's done. I just got to type it up in
Yeah.
a format that other people can understand.
Yeah.
Humans.
Yeah.
Or robot.
He
Or
writes them all in hieroglyphs.
I do.
Yeah,
I do
send
it.
it in binary to our robot transcriber.
I do. I do it the old-fashioned way with a legal yellow legal pad and a pen, which is very modern and high-tech for me.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the Academy Director for Roads of Athens Theater Academy coming up this summer. And I'm going to be in Comedy of Errors, which will be fun, also in Athens. I'm on hold for a commercial that I hope I book.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Woo!
And yeah, that's it.
All right.
And I'm secretly working on a robot in the basement with Aaron.
We have a basement?
So we'll see you all next week. Until then, I'm Jeff, and I'm consulting our feline lawyer.
I'm Aaron Gottlieb, and I have nothing.
I am Adam Montag, and meow, 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 meow.
Bye.
You don't want to know what that means in human.
Oh, dear.